This is Kari Lake. She ran for governor of Arizona, I think in the 2022 midterms. She lost to Katie Hobbs. She's a Republican, Kari Lake is. And she tried the exact strategy that Donald Trump tried in the 2020 election, which is to claim that, Democrats cheated. Everybody cheated. She was cheated out of this position, blah, blah, blah. Well, that didn't get her very far. She didn't succeed in taking over. But Donald Trump was just arrested recently. So I wanted to talk about the right's reaction to this. This is part 2. If you haven't seen the other, don't sweat it. This stands independently of the rest. I'll provide context if it's missing. So yeah, let's check it out and see how extremist MAGA nutterbutters are reacting to the news. I mean, these people are like the Trumpiest of the Trumpiest supporters. It doesn't get more Trump supported than these guys. So let's see what they say.
But let me, Rick Green is now with us. Let me go to this report, Fox talking about the targeted attack in Nashville. Watch.
Okay, this whole targeted attack thing, there was an attack. I talked about this already. It's on my channel if you want to check. But there was an attack on a school by somebody who was apparently trans, I believe. And that is all they're focusing in on. This is the third trans attacker out of 400 or something like that. The vast majority, like 90%, are right-wing extremists who cite Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro and Glenn Beck and, all of the other right-wing nutcases in their manifestos. There is a pattern here. The pattern is right-wing extremists keep attacking schools and stuff. Now, there's a single event of a trans attacker recently that they're zeroing in on and using it as the basis to ban the trans community from having guns and fearmonger about them and all this other stuff. That's the context behind this if you're watching like 5 years in the future. So let's keep listening here.
Report, Fox talking about the targeted attack in Nashville. Watch.
So I didn't hear you say that again, sir.
Is there any reason to believe that how she identifies has any motive for targeting the school?
There is a manifesto, apparently. It has not been released publicly, so we really don't even know what the deal is.
We can give you that at a later time. There is some theory to that. We're investigating all the leads, and once we know exactly, we will let you know.
So was this a targeted attack?
It was.
Was it a targeted attack? I love how they cut it off like the last second. He barely got the S out of his mouth before they cut it off. But okay. I mean, I'm not opposed to thinking that maybe it was. I just want to get to the bottom of it. I want to get to the facts. But there's no reason to believe that there's like this massive, this effort by the trans community to like take down whatever. It's just nonsense.
Was Rick Green? It was a targeted attack. Welcome to the program, Rick, Patriot Academy.
This dude's a nutcase.
Glad you're with. The interesting thing here is that we're still not seeing. I'll get your comments and your views on that. But the thing we're still not seeing is no one has seen this manifesto. Why do you think that is?
Well, they don't want us to know the reasons for the attack because, first of all, it will educate people to understand that there's always going to be a wolf out there looking for sheep, and that means you need more sheepdogs, and you need to take the precautions that Proverbs 27:12 tells us to not.
Okay, so what he's saying is he believes that they don't want to release the manifesto, they being like the police department or whatever, because they know that it's going to inspire more stochastic terrorism and hate against the trans community, and they don't want to contribute to that at this immediate moment. So they're just waiting until the right cools down, and then they're going to release it. That's what it seems like to me, but I don't know. That's what it seems like to me. Now, what Rick Green is saying is they don't want to release the manifesto because they want to hide it under a bushel instead of allowing the right to run with it and use it as a method of attacking the trans community, right? He says we need more sheepdogs to take out the people that don't believe the way that he does or some other nonsense. Just, God, dude, absolutely unhinged from reality.
Be the simpleton, the fool that walks blindly on and suffers the consequences, but be the wise person that foresees danger and takes precautions. And I just want to say to churches everywhere, Christian schools everywhere, you need to realize that there are people that want to harm you and harm those children. And
dude, what is it like to live in a constant state of paranoia like this? It has got to be a wild time, right?
we can't be the fool. We've got to be wise. We've got to start taking those precautions. I'm dressed like this because I've been out on the range working today, getting our ranges ready so that we can train more and more believers and people that understand the importance of the Second Amendment that James Wilson, who signed both the Constitution and the Declaration, told us. If you get robbed in your own home, it's your own fault and negligence. We don't want a police state where a police officer's got to be in every home and on every corner. We, the people, are supposed to be able and prepared to defend ourselves.
God, this is insane. These people are absolutely unhinged from reality. It is so disturbing. Sometimes police don't release manifestos because it contains propaganda and they don't want it to indoctrinate more people. That's fair enough. That'd be a totally reasonable idea. Like, don't release their manifesto so that the propaganda doesn't come out. I'd be all for that. But, of course, the right thinks everything revolves around them, so, you know.
People are supposed to be able and prepared to defend ourselves, defend our families, and defend the children that have been given to our care. And so we're training teachers for free. We will train any school employee or teacher across this country for free if their school will let them carry on campus. This dirt bag could have been stopped before a single child lost their lives.
Really? You want to put more guns in schools? This is like a kindergarten or like an elementary school, wasn't it? You want to put more guns in elementary schools? Really? This is the most unhinged idea I think I've heard all day. The answer is stricter rules about when people should have guns or when they should be allowed to get guns or whatever. I went through this whole breakdown of a solution to this problem not too long ago in another Flashpoint episode. But since he's bringing it up again, let me just say this again. I've got a few ideas, and if we implemented the ideas that I have, it would absolutely, most definitely stop mass attacks like this. Here are just a couple. If we institute universal background checks, it would dramatically reduce the problem, make it much, much better to deal with. If we, if we created a licensing program where you must get training, you must prove that you have, 100 hours of training before you're allowed to purchase a gun, and the license must be renewed every 6 months. You don't have to get the 100 hours every 6 months. Maybe go to training to take a test. Yeah, take a test every 6 months to ensure you know what you're doing, and you have to get 100 hours of training under your belt before you can even take the test. And the test will make sure you have trigger discipline, make sure you're not going to wave the gun around all willy-nilly and point it at people. Make sure that you have a gun safe that is locked 24/7 and only you have the combination and maybe one other person, like your wife. And, people should be subjected to random inspections. Make sure that gun is locked up in the safe like it's supposed to be. A gun buyback program, a willing gun buyback program, not mandatory. If people choose to, they can sell guns back to the government optionally. That would reduce the number of guns floating around dramatically and alleviate this problem dramatically, like a lot. It would make this situation significantly better. And I haven't even banned assault weapons. I haven't even limited people's ability to get guns. If you're a law-abiding gun owner, you still have the option of buying a gun. You just have to prove without a shadow of a doubt that you know what you're doing with it. That's all. But while we're at it, let's ban assault weapons too. No reason anybody should own an AR-15, ever. Hell, ban pistols. Why do pistols exist? What are those for? If you need something for home defense, use a shotgun. You can't aim in the dark very well like that. Anyways, a shotgun with birdshot is way better for home defense. You know what scares somebody out of the house? A gunshot. It doesn't matter if it's like a pistol or a shotgun. It doesn't matter if they're lethal rounds or non-lethal rounds. It's irrelevant. So while you're shooting a gun at somebody, might as well make it a shotgun, something with birdshot that's less likely to kill somebody, but just injure them. Plus, you can't see in the dark anyways, so what's the point in even having a pistol in the first place? There's no point in having a pistol. Get rid of them. Get rid of pistols. Get rid of assault rifles. Sales of this stuff. You don't have to, confiscate them. If somebody already owns them, fine. But no more sales. If we did all of the things I just listed, it would solve the mass attack problem like that. It would solve it. It's really that simple. But they won't let us do literally anything to try to solve this problem. Literally nothing. They're gonna try to put more guns in people's hands. Guns in the hands of teachers. Really. They live in a delusion.
If there had been someone armed on campus ready to stop the threat, watch the video of how she wanders around in the front area for all those minutes that she could have been stopped. And that's what we've got to start thinking like. And by the way, if I could just say.
No, it isn't. That's not how we need to start thinking. In fact, we need to root that thinking out of society to the best of our ability, because that's just straight up disgusting. They're children. They shouldn't be around guns like this. Pistol fits in a purse so you can defend yourself from rape. You should never, ever defend yourself with a gun or think that it's a good idea to try to defend yourself with a gun. Ever. Look at what happened to Kyle Rittenhouse. Yeah, I guess that was self-defense or whatever, adjudicated by a court. In my opinion, he should have gone to jail. But, okay, you know what? It was decided. It was self-defense. He can shoot somebody and murder them and get away with it, apparently. But do you really want to spend the next how many years of your life, 5 years of your life, adjudicating, while the court system adjudicates every split-second decision that you made in that moment? Do you really want to spend the next 5 years of your life in and out of jail, paying for defense attorneys, and worrying about the split-second decisions that you made and whether or not the court will side with you? Do you really want to spend your life doing that? If Kyle Rittenhouse could go back, I guarantee you he would have decided not to go to that place. It ruined his life. Now, it turned him into a celebrity, but guess what? Dude's being sued for every penny he owns now by the families. This is a bad position he's found himself in. If you are defending yourself from anything at all with a gun, you're fucked. That's it. You're in a bad position. The police are the solution to this, not murdering somebody. You don't want to find yourself in the position where you have to defend yourself with a gun. Pistols should be banned.
Say real quickly to your other guest, because I heard a little bit as we came on. First of all, Kari Lake should be the vice presidential nominee with Donald Trump. She's the best candidate of our lifetimes. But Kari, once you're elected with Donald Trump, I want you to only serve 2 years and then resign and go back home and take over Arizona and win the governor's race, because we need you as governor in Arizona even more than we need you as VP. And Rob McCoy, you're absolutely right. This indictment is only going to help Donald Trump. And the reason you knew to say that is because I said that last week on Flashpoint, and you were probably watching.
Absolutely.
Well, that was a mouthful, Rick.
Wow.
Okay. All right, let me.
So, God, Rick Green is actually a DeSantis supporter, apparently. Well, I guess Trump supporter first, DeSantis supporter second, which is kind of interesting to me. And he came on here, Rick Green did, a few episodes ago, and talked about how much he loves DeSantis. And oh boy, did it piss a bunch of people off when he said that. So I guess he's trying to redeem himself now, saying Trump is the best and he should be the president and all that.
Let me show you this.
Hey, Gene, can I say one more
there's
thing
the
really
show.
quick?
Have you been talking to Lance Wall now? Go ahead.
You know I was going to cut you off for a second.
I knew you were. Go
I do
ahead.
want to say something.
Okay, that was awkward as shit, and I found myself, cringe smiling. You ever find yourself doing that, cringe smiling? Like, you feel so bad for this person who just had a flapped joke that you're smiling on their behalf, okay. I found myself doing that just now, oh, this poor person. I'm just going to smile because nobody else is. It's painful, dude. It's just straight up painful. Okay?
Now, go ahead.
You know I was going to cut you off for a second.
I knew you were. Go ahead.
I do want to say something about what happened in Nashville and what happened a couple weeks ago when we had Jane Fonda sitting on The View calling for not just violence, but murder.
Okay. don't believe a word out of their mouths here. Sounds like complete nonsense. The left, by and large, is not calling for murder or violence or any of that garbage. They're just trying to point the finger in the other direction because the right knows that they are to blame for a lot of this violence.
Murder against pro-life advocates, for people who are pro-life. The left is coming completely unglued.
I have no idea what she's talking about here.
Life advocates, for people who are pro-life. The left is coming completely unglued and unhinged. The last 4 shootings have been young adults who are part of this transgenderism abuse that has been inflicted on our...
The last 4? No. No, actually, they have not. The last 4? Really? Does she think the last 4 attacks like this were trans people? Does she realize that there's 1 per day on average? I think maybe 2 per day on average. I'm not sure what the average is up to right now. She has no idea what she's talking about. There have been a total of 3. One of the people who claimed to be non-binary was trying to avoid a hate crimes charge. I don't know why he was even bothering. Hopefully he's going to be in there for the rest of his life. But he and his dad both. It was the Denver, Colorado one, I think. Or Colorado Springs, or I don't remember exactly where it was that this happened. But this kid's dad was terrible. Here it is. Yeah, here it is. Right here. It was the Club Q attacker from Colorado. This is the kid's dad.
I praised him for violent behavior really early. I still say that it works. It's instant, and you'll get immediate results.
I praised him for violent behavior really early on.
And you'll always get what you want if you're good at fighting.
Had you taught him more tolerance, let me be direct, do you think, he would have been more tolerant of gay people? Apparently. I think that my anti-gay, anti-schematic, they call conservative writing, I'm a conservative extraordinaire, and I've been very vocal about that. I support Randy Vopel for his grandfather. I love Randy Vopel.
Randy Vopel, I believe, he's a congressman, and I believe that he was also a January 6th defendant, or he was there at January 6th. I don't remember what his affiliation was with January 6th, but he's a massive Trump supporter nutcase. And apparently he's this guy's dad, the shooter's grandfather.
He's a good American. Hopefully he'll be president someday.
Randy who?
Randy Vopel.
Randy Vopel. Randy.
That's a good man right there. That's the best man for the job. Mm-hmm. It was okay to be gay. It's like he says now it's cool to be gay. It's not. I think it's not cool at all. I think it's my opinion about gays is it's just not okay. I think we should stand up against homosexuality.
So yeah, that was the Club Q attacker's father. It doesn't end there. Listen to this one. It's just a minute later in the interview.
There was a shooting involving multiple people, right. And then later on going to find it's a gay bar.
Yeah, right. And
I was like, oh my God, is he gay? I was scared. Oh my God, shit, is he gay? And he's not gay.
So this kid just murdered a bunch of people for being gay because they were gay. That's why he murdered them. And the dad was worried that the kid was gay. He was worried he was at the gay bar because he was gay. And he said, oh my God, okay, he's not gay. That's all I care about. I don't care that he just killed a bunch of people. I care that he's not gay. That's insane. So the kid that we're talking about here that went into this gay bar to attack these people claimed to be non-binary after the fact. That was simply to avoid a hate crimes charge. That was 150 shootings ago. So that one would make it 4 total trans people involved in any attacks, if you're counting. That's the one that Kari Lake was talking about just now.
And unhinged. The last 4 shootings have been young adults who are part of this transgenderism abuse that has been inflicted on our young people. We are going to see much more of this. When you send beautiful, perfect children into schools and have adults who they trust psychologically abuse them and convince them that they are not the gender that God made them.
That's not happening. No one is convincing no one is convincing anybody of anything. Completely fabricated. But, they have to build this claim. They have to make you believe that the left is doing this so that they can justify, so that the right, like Kari Lake, for example, can justify indoctrinating children themselves. They know that they can't, in good conscience, or they can't maybe not get away with, or it'll be easier to get away with indoctrinating children if they claim that the left did it first.
You are going to see this mental illness continue along their life as they grow older, and we're going to see more of this. This is why we have to put a stop to this, bring God back into our homes and our hearts, Amen. Into our culture, because we're really...
Obviously, the answer is not God. I mean, does it need to be made any clearer? How could it be made any clearer than this? It was a Christian school that was attacked. How can it possibly be made clearer that prayer is not the solution to this problem?
Treading in very, very dangerous, murky waters right now.
We are indeed. In fact, since you did that, I want to show this clip. Now, we had to edit language out on a lot of this clip. And
right, this TV show airs actually on TV, like on television, and it's on Kenneth Copeland's Victory Network, kind of like Oxygen or E or like Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network or whatever. So everything that airs on this TV show should be like safe for the airwaves, and the airwaves are heavily regulated, so if it's too much, then I'll censor it out in editing too, but we'll see what it says here.
This is just a portion of a trans call to fight that was posted today. Watch.
Trans people in Tennessee, it's time to fight. Trans allies in Tennessee, it's time to fight. Trans women, if they lock you up for identifying as a woman, fight, resist, fight them, hurt them. If they put their hands on you, beat them.
Dude, are you kidding me? I hear this from the right constantly. Matter of fact, I just talked about this on my main channel not too long ago. There's this big, long Twitter thread. Let me find it. I closed it. Let me pull it open again. Yeah. There's this big, long Twitter thread of, like, nonstop the right saying this stuff. And the right's going a step further than that. They aren't even stopping at, if they hurt you, then fight back. That's what this person was just saying. Listen to what the right is saying right now that Trump's been arrested.
Well, looks like time's about here. And when they knock at my door, I will be locked and loaded. Period. I will defend my home, my family, my freedoms. Period. I will kill the enemy at my doorstep, or they will kill me. God bless. Well, look.
See, the real problem here is that the right lives in a paranoid fever dream. This is not happening to the right. They're not being persecuted for their beliefs. You know who is, though? The trans community. The trans community is actually being persecuted for who they are right now. And it's a completely and totally reasonable thing to say you should fight if they try to hurt you. Completely justified to say something like that. But Flashpoint wants people to believe that, you know, other people are out to get them 24/7. They want to act like victims. As they punch people in the face, they say, they're hitting my fist with their face. Somebody stop them.
Hurt them. If they put their hands on you, beat them. We are at an...
Everybody should agree with that sentiment. Self-defense, right? In self-defense, it's perfectly reasonable to fight back. That is a reasonable position to hold, and that's what she just espoused.
If they put their hands on you, beat them. We are at an attack. It's time to fight back. Do you hear me? Trans people in Tennessee, trans men, trans women, non-binary, fight! If they try to arrest you or have you arrested on a felony for existing, beat them, team up, gang together, get people who agree with you to come and fight. Carry a weapon at all times. And yes, you have to attack the police officer.
Okay, I feel like this is a little bit beyond what I'm comfortable with. Some people think that the trans community should be arming themselves and prepared to fight at all times. I get that sentiment. I get the feeling. I'm just a pacifist, and I don't believe that. I think there should be fewer guns floating around. We need to lower the temperature and not escalate. Now, I know that the right is the one that's escalating right now. I know that. But, I'm not really, I don't think that it's helpful to use this type of rhetoric personally. Like I said, I totally understand it. I totally understand the sentiment and the reasoning and the feelings behind all of this. But again, the right is the one, the right are the ones saying this stuff nonstop. They found one example, a TikTok post from a single rando, right? How many actual calls to violence have I showed on my channels from representatives, like U.S. representatives, Marjorie Taylor Greene, for example? Look, I'll just give you one example. Yeah, this is just a single example. Early August 2021, Marjorie Taylor Greene says this in a private, closed meeting that she's addressing.
And one more thing on that, you lucky people here in Alabama might get a knock on your door because I hear Alabama might be one of the most unvaccinated states in the nation. Well, Joe Biden wants to come talk to you guys. He's going to be sending one of his police state friends to your front door to knock on the door, take down your name, your address, your family members' names, your phone numbers, your cell phone numbers, probably ask for your social security number.
Again, none of this happened. This is, once again, just a right-wing fever dream that this point of persecution that they dreamed up that was never even in the works. They're talking about sending, nurses around to people's homes and asking if they wanted a vaccine to make it that much easier for people. Not mandatory, not going to force anything on anybody, but she twisted that into persecution, of course.
And whether you've taken the vaccine or not. Yeah, well, what they don't know is in the South, we all love our Second Amendment rights. And we're not real big on strangers showing up on our front door, are we? They might not like the welcome they get.
So, Marjorie Taylor Greene and many other well-known representatives, U.S. representatives, have been actually calling for violence this entire time. They've been calling for not retaliatory violence, but preemptive violence. Somebody offers a vaccine at your door, just comes to your door and says, hey, I have a vaccine. Do you want to get vaccinated? And she is encouraging people to pull their guns out and stick it in people's faces. The person in this video is calling for retaliatory, protective violence, not preemptive violence. Like they do something first, so we're going to do something to protect ourselves. They're calling for self-defense. Again, even this is a little bit far for me. I'm not a fan of that kind of rhetoric. But the right's been talking about this forever, and I'm talking representatives, not just some randos on TikTok. But this is called nut-picking, the nut-picking fallacy. You find a single example of somebody saying something that you disagree with or that you think is wrong, and you claim that it represents the entire movement. I'm not doing the nut-picking thing when I talk about this stuff. I'm talking about what representatives of the United States have said. I'm talking about what millionaires and billionaires who run major networks are saying. I'm not covering random TikTok videos. I'm covering TV shows that air on cable television.
And yes, you have to attack the police officer. Transgenocide's around the corner. Stop debating cis people in your existence. I do not debate. My existence is not a conversation. Fight! Stop! I'll tell you something. If a police officer put his hands on me for trying to be who I am, I don't care if I got shot. I'm taking a couple of transphobes with me. And I suggest you do the same. The time for debate is over. It's a waste of time.
There is a genocide on its way right now. I don't feel like that's hyperbolic anymore. At one point in time it was. I feel like it's, a pretty accurate description of our situation, unfortunately. I don't think it's here yet. But honestly, the rhetoric that's being used against the trans community right now is the exact word for word rhetoric that was used in 1930s Germany against the trans community then and against Jews. It's getting real. It's getting real. And it's a completely reasonable thing for somebody to say, you know, we're getting to the point now where it's not just shit talking. That makes sense. Oh, they showed the person. Hold on. What was the name?
Debate is over. It's a waste of time.
Duchess of Darkness? I've never heard of him before, but okay.
Okay, let me go to you, Rob, on that one. It's painful to watch, and I'm still, it's just shocking that someone can post something like that.
Really? You think it's shocking somebody can post something like that, huh? Shocking, you say?
Well, it looks like time's about here. And when they knock at my door, I will be locked and loaded. Period. I will defend my home, my family, my freedoms. Period. I will kill the enemy at my doorstep, or they will kill me. God bless.
Disturbing, huh? You're disturbed by that? How about this one right here?
That's what I'm trying to get across to people there. Right there. You know, they're doing it already. They're doing it. We're already fucked. Might as well go out with a fucking bang. And that's the point I'm trying to get across to people. Our generation, we are already fucked.
The point is, it's time to be a terrorist? Is that the point you're trying to get across? You know why I don't cover these things very often? Because they're nuts. This is nut picking. I'm picking out random nutter butters on Twitter and pointing out, like, the general sentiment of the right at the moment. I focus in on senators, congressmen, political leaders of various sorts, cable TV hosts, televangelists, people that are high up. I almost never cover these people because it doesn't really matter that much. But they're picking out nuts or people who they believe to be nuts on the left. I don't even think that was a nutty thing for that woman to say. They're picking out people they believe to be nuts on the left. Let's talk about what the right is saying right now. Let's go all the way with this nut picking thing, shall we?
We're already too deep to be unburied. And we're going to suffer a lot of consequences. But if we're going out, we're dead. We're done anyway. We're eliminated. We're executed. We're unalived.
Love you, brother, but the elite will poison our water and animals. It's already happening. That's what this message is that he's responding to right now. They live in another world, dude. They live in another reality, straight up.
Anyway. So go out like a fucking warrior.
Do you mean like a suicide bomber? Is that what he's saying?
Like a man. That's what I'm trying to tell people.
So, yeah, that's what the right is saying right now. And why aren't they responding to all of those? That's their complaint, right? Flashpoint's complaining right now that the left is not, like, responding to the things happening on Twitter or TikTok or whatever. Not responding to all of these TikTokers that they found. Why isn't the right responding to this stuff? I can flip it around just as easily. Repeat after me. I denounce violence of any sort unless it's in self-defense. I denounce any language that could serve to escalate into extremism. Can you say that? Can Gene Bailey repeat those words? Can Kenneth Copeland say that? I have no idea if they can or not. They sure never have. They seem laser focused on what the left is doing while ignoring the fact, conveniently, that their people have been ramping this up for years at this point.
And there's no repercussions. I mean, this was, now by the way, Rob, this was posted Monday before the attack in Nashville, because we know April 1st is the National Trans Call for Vengeance Day, and we're going to talk on what you're doing about that later. But what do you think? What
The Trans Day of Vengeance is this thing where it's a meme and a movement in the trans community where people hold these protests and stuff, peaceful protests on their behalf to show that, you know, they're not alone, show solidarity with each other and things like that. So, yeah, it's just a meme, and it's a peaceful protest. It's not violent. Sounds violent. They shouldn't be using the word vengeance like that. I think that's a bad idea, but it is what it is, I suppose.
About that later, but what do you think? What's your response to that?
You know, the book of Genesis says that we bear the image of God. He created man and woman, and let us make man in our image. So we're image bearers. Now, when you reject God,
image bearers. I don't know what that means.
You reject the image that you bear. And so you want to be God. And so you want to be able to play with DNA and genetics, and you want to be able to.
I'm sorry, what? You want to be God? Okay, so if you are trans, then it means you want to be God. What?
You decide when someone can live and be in control of life and destroying it. You want to be able to recreate it, whatever it is.
Dude, what is he talking about?
And it doesn't mesh with science. And so when you're dealing with, as it says...
What doesn't mesh with science? Is he saying that, like, being trans doesn't? What's he talking about?
The laws of nature, nature's God, and you're contending in a world of ideas. They cannot debate. And that's why the critical race theory takes all these, I guess, minorities that cannot debate in the public square and contend for truth, and they unite around historical wounds so that they can take advantage of them and obtain power. They don't believe in absolute truth. And so that's why they say there's no debate. We're going to be violent. We're going to fight back, because debating won't serve a purpose for them, because they cannot justify biologically what's happening. There's nothing they can do except for rewrite truth and come up with some sort of fantasy, because
dude, what is he even talking about? I am so lost.
They don't believe in absolute truth, and they're not accountable to God, and they're not accountable to the laws of nature and nature.
No, I mean, I don't believe that the Bible should be a source of objective morality. That's absurd. What does he mean, absolute truth?
There's God. So it's problematic.
It is problematic. We bring in
Dude, he just used like every buzzword under the sun. Like he just used every right-wing talking point and buzzword that I can think of, honestly. He didn't use the word woke. Should have used the word woke. He would have hit the trifecta.
Brandon Showalter. He's a journalist and podcaster with the Christian Post. We're going to talk more about what you're doing, your book that you wrote after the break. But
dude, this guy's eyebrows are absolutely wicked. Look at these bad boys.
Brandon, I wanted to bring you in early and talk about what we're seeing right here. You saw that post on TikTok. That's just one. There are many, many, many posts out there, as well as tweets and imagery. There's no lack. They're coming.
Look, first of all, I haven't seen, anything that steps over a line. It's probably out there, I would assume. There's something out there for like everybody. But yeah, I'm not hearing any representatives or any actually influential people say we should start murdering people or whatever. I haven't heard any of that, except from the right. I hear that from right-wing politicians all the time.
Out in a big way against Christians and against anybody that's that they deem to be transphobic. Your thoughts?
Dude, I haven't heard anybody say anything negative about Christianity from a public platform. What's he talking about?
Thoughts?
Well, that's absolutely correct.
No, it isn't at all.
Activism is inherently violent. It is just unbelievable the kinds of just filthy threats that are being spewed on social media.
Filthy threats, you say? Filthy threats. Interesting. Okay. Hey, let's just pick another one, shall we?
Look, I'm not saying President Trump rates up there with Jesus Christ, but Jesus was also persecuted for crimes he didn't commit, And look how that turned out for us. We got you back, Mr. President.
Okay, another Trump is Jesus one. God. Oh, God. Okay, how about this one?
If you're staying silent in this war between good and evil because it's too hard for you to speak up.
You notice the language there, black and white language, good and evil. That's cult language right there.
Your children are the ones who are going to have to pay for that.
Let's see. Let me find a couple others. How about this one? This says, just checking on my left-wing friends since Trump won't be arrested today because you got nothing on him, unlike Joe and Hunter. Oh, oh, this is from before he was arrested. Okay. Check this one.
Message to Democrats and Joe Biden in particular. There's people like me in this world. We don't give a fuck about tomorrow. We care about the freedom for our children, for our families, and we're ready to die. We don't have anything left to lose, Joe. This one's on you.
I mean, are you seeing a pattern here? There are an obscene number of right-wing extremists out there, but I'm not playing the nut-picking fallacy. I'm talking about what large, famous, platformed people are saying. That's what my whole thing is about. And they're picking out like a single example on Flashpoint of somebody saying that they should defensively protect themselves. I mean, you're seeing the difference here, right?
And then it's aided and abetted by hormones. I mean, I think there's been a lot of discussion about, well, was this young woman who shot up the school in Nashville on hormones? And I think that's a fair question.
To my knowledge, the answer was no. I don't believe so. I don't know a whole lot about that situation, nor do I care about that person. I care about the horrific things that they did, and there's absolutely no excuse for it. No excuse whatsoever. So.
Question to ask because, you know, the female body is not meant to take cross-sex hormone. It's not meant to.
Oh, anybody is meant to take certain hormones because we're basically all the same body by and large.
Handle that much testosterone if indeed that's what she was taking. But I think even more than that, this kind of violent action, just like the clip on TikTok that you just saw, that's what festers in these online communities. When you're at odds with reality and you're rebelling against the most basic fact of our being, our biology, of course it's going to drive you mad.
No one is fighting against biology or whatever. Like, this is just made up.
And I think we're starting to see some things boil, and it's very concerning. You mentioned earlier the Trans Day of Vengeance that's coming up.
That was just a peaceful protest, yeah. It had nothing to do with violence, apparently. Again, I don't like the name, but it's a meme in the trans community, so.
We really need to be praying because these are unstable people, and having covered this issue extensively at the Christian Post, I can tell you that it is not easy being on the...
Oh, he's from the Christian Post, right. He's a quote-unquote journalist from the Christian Post, right. I totally forgot what he was from or how he was famous.
Front lines when you're dealing with this kind of mob mentality, particularly when someone believes themselves to be the opposite sex. I mean, it's just insane what's going on. But this is what trans activism is, and people are finally starting to see it.
Yeah, I believe you're right. I mean, you can't help but see it now. All right, we're going to come back to you, Brandon, after the break because you've written some things that will really help people with this, and we're going to pick back up with you after the break. But right now I want to bring in Kari again. Before I lose you for this half hour, Kari, I want to give us an update on the election results. A lot of people are confused about what's going on, and the latest got thrown out of court, kicked back down to a lower court.
Oh my God, dude. Look, she lost, okay? You lost. Just give it up. When you lose, you gotta learn to lose with grace. Just stop embarrassing yourself and accept the loss and concede. Katie Hobbs was her opponent, and she's already the governor.
Can you give us a wrap-up on where people are concerned about your race? What's going on?
The race ended like years ago now, right? How long ago did this race end? Like forever ago. Come on. Give it up and stop embarrassing yourself.
Well, if you've read even one headline from the fake news, you would think we lost everything. We actually had a victory in the Arizona Supreme Court. They ordered the lower court judge to take back up the really important issue. I believe it's the smoking gun of our whole case of signature verification. And that is where we had 3 whistleblowers come forward and say they weren't following signature verification. The signatures on the envelopes of over 100,000, 150,000 ballots didn't match, or there were no signatures, or
like all of this is completely made up. There is no smoking gun. There was no election fraud or any of that stuff. The votes have to not only match signatures, but also match names and addresses of registered voters. Like, if there was some kind of a question about any of this stuff, they could just check with the voters themselves. Just go there, ask questions, say, did you actually cast this vote? And boom, problem is resolved. But they want to pretend that there's absolutely no way to verify this. We'll never know for sure this was cheating and blah, 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 blah. It's all made up, all of it. Always was.
they were denied because the signatures didn't match, and they were...
No, that's not what she said. She said they didn't check the signatures. Now, did the signatures not match, or did they not check at all? They're two different things. This should just go to show you that she's completely full of it, has no idea what she's talking about, or is intentionally setting out to deceive the people around her, one or the other.
Were pushed through and counted anyway. So we did get a victory, a really big victory out of the Arizona Supreme Court. And this is the first victory in a case like mine that we've seen in 3 years. We have basically opened the door. In all of these cases before, we've never had a ruling in our favor, and this is actually a big victory. We're looking forward to it. We don't have exactly the dates where we're going to be having our next court appearance, but we will keep you informed. We're going to need prayers, and I believe that when the people of Arizona, and frankly...
Okay, all right. They need prayers, she says. All right, keep praying. Let's see how it turns out for you. Go ahead. Just lean on prayer. See how it goes.
Country, see how poorly matched or mismatched or no match on these mail-in ballots. They are going to want to re-examine whether we should have mail-in ballots in the first place, because every fake, phony ballot that is counted waters down your vote. It waters down my vote.
There have not been any fake, phony ballots. She lives in a fantasy land.
And it waters down every legal vote out there.
I'm the fan. Let's go back to paper ballots only on the day of election.
That is absolutely absurd. It's honestly not even possible to do with 330 million people in this country. But they don't care. Whatever they can do to limit or to suppress voters. It's what it's really about. Whatever they can do to suppress voters, they'll do it. And that's the perfect way.
Unless you're
Me
in the
too,
military.
and we count them that one day, and we don't count them for 14 days later.
That's literally impossible. Either you can use counting machines and have them counted in a day, or you can spend, 3-4 weeks counting them. It's not possible to count 330 million ballots in one day like that. You know how long it takes to count to 330 million? Well, I guess, it's only 100 million ballots, so... because that's roughly how many voters there are, or maybe 150 million. But do you have any idea how long it takes to count to that? It takes 31 years for one person to count to 1 billion. It takes 31 years to reach your billionth second of life. So we're talking 150 million, right? So we're looking at, somewhere in the range of 5 years for one person to count all of those. What is that? 5 years times 365. So it would take just thousands and thousands of people to count these ballots for days. Maybe 10,000 people to count all of the ballots. That's an obscene number of people. Or we can just use the counting machines. But they want to concoct this absurd conspiracy theory, even though we can go back and check all of this stuff and have to make sure everything is above board. They must lean on this conspiracy theory. You know why? Because they can't live with the fact that they lost. Donald Trump and Kari Lake specifically can't live with the fact that they just lost their elections. Just give it up.
Later.
Yeah, amen to that. All right, Kari, how can people stay in touch and follow you? What can they do to make sure they get the latest on what's going on?
Well, they can follow me on Truth Social. They can follow me on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. You can just find me at Kari Lake, Karilake, and you can also find me at my website, karilake.com, where you can follow us in our court case. We feel very, very strongly that our case is solid.
It is not solid. It's got holes all through it, but okay.
And we're going to push it. And if we do not get results for the people, we will take it all the way to the United States Supreme Court. We believe
I don't think you can do that. It sounds like that's her plan, though. It's got holes all through it, so she's going to try to take it to the Supreme Court, who she knows is favorable to her. But again, I think that she's limited to that jurisdiction. I think it can only go up to the Arizona Supreme Court, right? Or I'm not really sure. A lawyer would know. There's some point in time in which it can jump from a state Supreme Court to the U.S. Supreme Court, depending on a number of factors, but I don't know what those factors are.
Election integrity and election reform is the issue of our time. We can't get people in office who will solve these problems if we're not actually able to choose those people through our vote.
Amen. All right, before you go, Kari, Rob, I want to ask you to pray for Kari Lake while we have her on, all that she's dealing with. Would you please pray for her?
Thank you so much.
Oh, check it out. Rick Green took his hat off. Donald Trump famously stood with Kenneth Copeland while Copeland prayed, and Trump didn't take his hat off. That was not too long ago. It was like a few months ago. This is at a Trump rally leading up to the 2022 midterm elections, I believe. This is November 5th, 2022. Copeland gets up here in the exact same suit as Donald Trump, weirdly, and he starts praying. He just starts saying just random nonsense. And at some point, yeah, right here, roughly, he starts praying. Watch. And, of course, Trump leaves his hat on.
What a great rally. What a great nation. Father, in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ of Nazareth, whose we are and whom we serve, in a few days here, people will be going to the polls again to cast vote.
So anyway, point is, Donald Trump didn't take his hat off, and nobody said a word, dude. No one said anything. They just let him get away with that. At least Rick Green took his hat off, right? Just crazy. Like, they let Trump get away with anything. They don't even care. He's not even a Christian, in my opinion. I'm not even convinced that Trump believes in God, to be truthful. I honestly think he was our first atheist president, unfortunately. I don't like that, but I really think that's what it is. But they let him get away with whatever. They don't even care.
Thank you for Kari, and I thank you for her heart to want to honor you and that she's not growing weary in well-doing. She gets tired in the work, but not of it. And Lord, she has been appointed for such a time as this, and she realizes that this is something that we're to run in such a way as to win and to expose their evil deeds. So Lord, give her favor. I pray that you would establish justice in regards to this election that so many Americans realize was just a robbery. I pray your blessing upon her, your protection, and we thank you for her. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Kari, always a pleasure. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, guys.
Man,
Thank you so much.
God bless you, Kari.
All right, we're going to go to a break. Before we do, though, I want to make sure you know, go share this video right now, this program you're watching. Share it on all your social media.
Yeah, that's going to be a no from me, dog. That is absolutely unhinged, dude. These people are something else for real. This is supposed to be about Donald Trump being arrested, and it somehow morphed into an anti-trans fest. That seems to be how it works, right? Even in Donald Trump's comments after he was arrested, he dropped a bunch of anti-trans messages in there. Honestly sad. Can't leave people alone, let them live their own fucking lives. Can't even do that. I mean, let me know what you think about it in the comments.